Hello, I'm Sally Stanton and welcome to Snacks and Suitcases, the podcast packed with tips, tricks and real-life stories to make travelling with kids of all ages a whole lot easier and way more fun. And today we're talking to beautiful Bali with Bianca from the Instagram page and blog Travel with My 3 Kids.
Mom, can I pack all my teddies?
Okay, let's get started. If you've ever wondered how travel becomes part of who you are, this episode is such a good one. Today I'm chatting with Bianca from Travel with My 3 Kids, a mum of 3 who has built a life around exploring the world with her family. And honestly, her childhood starts like a dream, like something out of Willy Wonka. Growing up as one of 9 kids with a dad who was a lolly importer, he would head off around the world with his kids every year, mostly to the US, to buy lollies to sell in his shop here in Australia. It's not like today where you can just buy any American lolly anytime you want. Guys, we had to go to special shops like Bianca's dad's or travel ourselves overseas, didn't we? It was crazy. I remember heading over there and buying Hershey Kisses and Mike and Ike's, and it was so exotic to us back then. Now you can just get your Mike and Ike's down the road at the petrol station. But Bianca was so lucky she got to do this that she even visited Disneyland multiple times a year. I mean, this is the dream, right? But as we all know, life isn't always rainbows and literal lollipops. And Bianca has been through her fair share of challenges, which have really shaped the way she approaches life, motherhood, and travel today. We talk about how those early experiences sparked her love of travel, how she's built her blog and Instagram, sharing family travel tips, and of course, her absolute love affair with beautiful Bali. From where to stay, how to get around, what to do with kids, and even how she navigates food safety. And for me, a germaphobe, someone who's petrified of getting sick, it is extremely helpful and comforting. This is such a practical, honest chat for families thinking about Bali, and it may very well convince you to go somewhere new. Enjoy. Hello, Bianca. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Sally. It's really lovely to be here and lovely to meet you. I've been following your podcast for ages now and I really love listening to it. So thank you so much for inviting me to come along.
Oh, thank you. I cannot wait to start talking about your favourite place in the world, Bali, and why it's such a hit with families and kids. But first, let's get to know the woman behind the blog and Instagram page, Travel with My 3 Kids. You've lived quite the life, and I want to hear all about it. So let's take it right back to the beginning. What was it like growing up as one of 9 kids? 9 kids, wow.
Definitely is incredible, but it's also pretty crazy and just not common at all. So I absolutely loved being the second eldest of 9 kids. I loved the craziness, the chaos, the noise at times, and it really, I think, equipped me just to grow and be super responsible. Not that I'm super responsible always. It definitely helped me become the woman that I am now, I think.
Now, you guys also travelled overseas a lot as a family. Yeah. I mean, is that how did all of that experience kickstart your passion for a life of travel?
Yeah, it absolutely did. From as young as I can remember, we travelled overseas and it just felt normal. It felt easy somehow, which is crazy because when I plan a trip now, I have the internet, I have Instagram, TikTok, I have all these tips from other mums and parents and families and those who have traveled before me. My parents had none of that. They had books and travel agents, but they did so much of it themselves. They called up to book hotels, overseas. So it does blow my mind now that they did all this with such ease. And so that definitely formed my love for travel from a very young age. And even though it felt normal for us, I was very much aware that it wasn't something that everyone else did. You know, I was always the kid at school who was off traveling and living this quite extravagant life. And it was. I was very thankful and very blessed. We didn't always travel. Obviously, when our family grew, we weren't doing many trips overseas. But, even with 4 young kids, we were doing multiple trips to the US a year, a few trips to Japan. We did Europe. And, a couple years in a row, I had annual passes to Disneyland, which is just outrageous now.
Oh, what? I didn't even know that existed.
I know, right? I know. I think they've definitely cut back on that. But I was very lucky.
Oh.
I mean, I'm very, very lucky. And what's even more special is my dad has always been a photographer as well as doing other sort of careers along the line. So the photos that we have to look back on are just amazing. Like, honestly, we have these amazing film photos, and I'm talking thousands and thousands of them because he's gone and digitalized all of them now, thankfully.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
That's great.
It's phenomenal. And, even the fact that all the film photos were in focus and just amazing quality, like back then, I mean, that was hard. So I'm very thankful for those memories, very thankful for the experiences, and it 100% shaped who I am today.
Traveling with that, even just 4 kids in the family, it's hard. Your dad was traveling for work, and were you guys going along with that?
So for quite a few of those years, he ran his own business and he actually imported American candy to Australia. So,
oh, come on. This is the dream childhood.
I know, right? I was the envy of everyone at school. So we were very lucky. We were doing lots of trips to the US. We were importing stuff that Australians had never heard of. Now it's super easy to get everything from America and that. So whilst we were traveling for his work, none of it felt like a job at all. I mean, if there was work, it was going to sort of factories to pick out lollies, basically. So, and that was mixed in with trips to Disneyland and, New York and doing all the touristy stuff. So it never felt like it was, a hard life, that's for sure.
Yeah, that sounds like the ultimate childhood, Bianca.
It definitely was amazing.
I remember going to America when I was 14 with my family and buying Hershey's and Mike and Ike's and all those lollies, which, yes, you can get here now. But my friend's giving me a list to go and buy all these things, and you could get different flavoured Skittles. It's taken a long time to get them over here, the Skittles.
It has.
But yeah. I just binged on so much candy, so many lollies, as we would say here, not candy. But, oh gosh. And I remember going to school camp the day after I got back and having all these lollies with me and my friends just raiding them. I had the biggest gobstopper. I still remember. I was telling my daughter about it the other day, and someone grabbed it off me and licked it, and I was like, how dare you? Oh my gosh.
We sold those in our shop, yeah. So I know exactly what you're talking about.
And did you go on an exchange to Japan at the age of 11?
I did. And, my eldest son is turning 9 this year. So the idea of him going overseas in 2 years not by himself, but, with a school group, it's just outrageous. I just don't think it would happen at that young age anymore.
No, I don't think it does. I mean, were you there for a year, or was it like a homestay for a couple of weeks?
It was a homestay for a couple of weeks, maybe a month. And it was in quite rural Japan where nobody spoke English. We would attend our sister school over there, and we would have to speak Japanese to everyone. And it was amazing. It was such a wonderful experience. And I had actually been to Japan before that as a family. So I didn't feel that foreign to me. I'd also, because of our family trips, we'd been taking Japanese lessons since we were about 5. So I did feel
subarashi. My mum's Japanese.
Oh, wow. I had no idea.
Yeah.
Please don't quiz me on anything then.
No, I was going to say, your Japanese might be better than mine, though.
No, absolutely not. I wish I'd kept it up. I'm trying to pick it up because I'd love the kids to learn some. But yeah, it's hard. It's hard when you're not using it. That's for sure.
It is. Oh, it is. And Bianca, something else that may have had a big impact on your life today is that you are a cancer survivor and you went through it at a very young age.
Yeah, absolutely. So I had just come back from actually a longer, about a 9-month exchange over in America. And so that was part of my university degree. So I was in the middle of studying a Bachelor of Law and Bachelor of International Relations, and I did an exchange over in America, and I had just come back and I started getting a bit unwell, but nothing serious. When you're 20, you don't really take anything seriously. So fortunately, I had these amazing GPs who basically diagnosed me with cancer within days of me attending with just a cough. So I was very fortunate. It was just shy of my 21st birthday. So I was quite young. My parents obviously were very busy with, 7 younger brothers and sisters. At the time, I think the youngest one was 1 or 2. So they definitely had their hands full. And then this diagnosis definitely shocked the family and shaked up our entire lives. So I did have quite a rocky couple of years. But like you said, it definitely did shape me into the person that I am today. And it's given me some wonderful experiences, actually. Following on from that, I was given quite a lot of opportunities to advocate for other young cancer patients. And I really loved doing that. I've always had sort of this social justice element to what I wanted to do with my whole life and my career. And that was kind of one of those little avenues that I took because of my own diagnosis. And yeah, so it's one of those things that I probably wouldn't have changed if I could, because it did change my whole perspective on life, that's for sure.
Wow. Well, now you're a mother of 3, you're a lawyer, you're a photographer, you now run this successful blog and Instagram page. I mean, you are a Wonder Woman, Bianca. I know I've only just met you, but I'm pretty impressed.
Thank you. I definitely don't feel like a Wonder Woman most days. Most days are quite hectic. I mean, I'm trying to get 3 kids out the door and then go to my job in Sydney City. So it's definitely not as amazing as it sounds. We really do live for our weekends and holidays when we can spend time as a family, because the day-to-day stuff is hard for every single parent. Whether you have 1 kid or 9, it's hectic. It's absolutely crazy. Yeah.
I just feel like 9 might be a little bit harder than 1, because I've got 1 and even 3.
Yeah.
All right. So how did your love for travel turn into a successful blog and Instagram page?
Actually, I didn't even start my Instagram page until less than a year ago. So we had actually just come back from our 3rd trip to Japan with the kids. So that was our 3rd trip with the kids, but I'd been about 8 times by then. So I felt like I had all this information and I was giving to all my friends every time they were planning a trip, or people at work and they wanted some information. I was putting together, spreadsheets and lists of things that they have to do and have to check out, and, details that just sometimes you can't even find in Google. Like, if you go to this restaurant, make sure you sit at the back corner, and because you'll have more room to put a high chair in, fold up your stroller. So things like that. And my memories can be actually quite good with like really logistical things. So details about if you come out of this station and you take exit F, then you turn right, and then, 2 stores down, you'll be able to find this store that will sell these things that you might need as a parent.
Sounds like you have a photographic memory, Bianca.
It almost is. I wish it was. I wish my memory was better in other ways that would help me most of the time. But my photographic memory for when we travel has definitely helped me to be able to guide other people, and even details of restaurants and what types of things they could order that would be good for the kids. So I can definitely picture all those. Even going back 8 years from our first travels with my eldest. So I think that has helped me to be able to draw on all that. So I definitely haven't found that I've had any shortage of content to create over the last year since starting my Instagram page. If anything, I have all these ideas and things. I'm like, I've got to tell people about this, and I've got to make a video about this, because, that would be so helpful to some parents. So that's my mind most days.
Well, you've got to love doing it, don't you? Because it can be hard work, especially if you're a lawyer as well, having a full-time job, 3 kids. How do you fit in the time to travel with everyone?
So I'm only working part-time at the moment, since my youngest is only 2. She's almost 3. So I wanted to spend some time with her before she starts school, our littlest. So I'm working 3 days as a lawyer and trying to juggle everything else. Yeah, absolutely did not realize how much work would be involved in starting an Instagram page or becoming a content creator. You really do have to love it, because it is a lot of work. It's not just creating content. There's a lot of engagement that's involved, as many people would know. And then there's also, it has sparked this interest for wanting to try out new experiences and work with brands and companies and that. So obviously there's a whole other element of pitching to businesses that I had no idea about a year ago. And now I'm learning new skills and using my time hopefully a bit more efficiently. I like to think that I'm just watching less TV and doom scrolling less, because I'm actually working. So
yeah, there's no time for that.
Absolutely not.
So as a successful digital content creator for travel, what are some of your favourite kid-friendly destinations?
So if we're talking about within Australia, we actually really love Tassie. It's super remote.
It is.
But it is special in its own way. And we did do a road trip down to Tassie that really stuck in our minds and we really just adored it. Having said that, I was desperate to get back to a big city and just indulge in some delicious Asian food.
Yes, I love Tasmania too. I love it too. But
Yeah.
you guys did a road trip, so did you catch the ferry?
We did. We went on the Spirit of Tasmania. So we drove down, spent some time in Melbourne, which we love and have heaps of friends there. And then we went on the Spirit of Tasmania from Geelong down to Devonport and then drove all over Tasmania and really loved it. Actually was, even though it is part of Australia, was still shocked at how remote parts of Tassie are. So that was, a really unique, different type of trip for us, but one that we all still think about and remember. Yeah, but I mean, all of our trips have been so different and unique. At the end of last year, we came back from Thailand and spent a little bit of time in Singapore on the way over and the way back. And, that was the first time for the kids and also for my husband to be in Thailand. So that was another super memorable trip that we took that has really stuck in the kids' minds. And even though we travel around Southeast Asia a fair bit, every country is so unique and different and has such a different feel and vibe to it. So we are loving sharing that with the kids and getting them to explore, different cultures across Asia, different foods, different religions. It's something that we as a family all love. So that's definitely where our heart is. And there's so much more of Asia that we're so keen to explore.
Well, one place that you keep going back to time and time again is Bali. You love Bali, along with probably millions of Aussies. So let's talk a little bit more about it. Australians have a long-standing love affair with Bali. It's affordable, it's close, it's a doable time zone. But what makes it so special for you?
So we absolutely do love Bali. And I would say it's probably a more recent love affair. So I didn't grow up traveling to Bali. Despite all of the travels that we did, our trips focused on the US and Japan and Europe.
I guess the lolly game wasn't strong in Indonesia.
That's true.
Back then.
And I guess Bali has had a stigma over the years as being a bit of a bogan destination. I think that is so misunderstood. And when I finally got over that sort of, not a misunderstanding, but that preconceived idea about what Bali would be like, I absolutely fell in love with it. So I would say it was only just about 10 years ago that I went to Bali for the first time. And within that first year, I went 5 times.
Oh, what?
Yeah. So they were all different trips for different, reasons with different people, but everyone just left such a huge imprint on my heart and I just could not get past it. So, go forward a few years and it turns out to be the place where I get married to my husband and, he's by this time fallen in love with Bali as well. We've done multiple baby moons there and done other family weddings there as well. And it's just somewhere we just can't stop loving. Every time we go there, instead of saying, okay, we've done it enough now, we just fall in love with it more.
What makes it so great for kids?
So the interesting thing is when you fly over to Bali, there's this mix of people on the plane and everyone is going there for a different holiday. Everyone does Bali differently. So, there are people from all walks of life and then you get off that plane in Bali and everyone spreads off to different parts of the island to do a completely different holiday. So the way that we do Bali might be super different to other families. And I know it is. Many families absolutely love the area of Nusa Dua, which is the all-inclusive resorts and a really resort-focused area. That's not really our type of holiday. So we avoid Nusa Dua. We love really getting stuck into the heart of Bali and also, the culture and meeting the people and getting to know the locals on like a really deep level. So that's our type of Bali holiday. And to me, I think that's what's amazing to kids and that's why it's special to kids. So even though I have an Instagram page that focuses on kid-friendly things to do in places, a lot of the time we go places, our kids do just normal things and it becomes a kid-friendly thing to do because we're doing it with kids.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
a lot of the time we're not the type of people to seek out, specific family-friendly restaurants or family-friendly attractions or, kid indoor play centres, although all the places we go to have these and they do occasionally pop up and we do occasionally do them. But a lot of the time we're doing things that, my husband and I love, and we know that the kids could either learn about something through doing it or just really enjoy it as a way to see a completely new country and new culture.
It does sound, from what everyone has told me, very, very culturally enriching for children. Not, it's not boring for the kids. They can learn so much in Bali. And also I hear the people are just so lovely and welcoming, and they all love kids so much.
Absolutely. That's my number one reason for continuously going back with the kids. The people really do make it special. And it's not, there's nothing fake about them. They are not there just to make money. They genuinely really love getting to know people and sharing their story and hearing about our stories. So, there are so many amazing locals that we've met over the years that you leave and you just give them the biggest hug and you know that you're going to remember them forever. And they might remember you. It's amazing how many do remember you when you go back, and they remember your name and your family, and they're so kind. They're always smiling and generous to a fault as well, despite living in, some pretty, lower the economics are not great, and it's hard sometimes for them to make a living. There's all these amazing locals that run these beach bars along the beach from Kuta to Seminyak, and if it rains, their business is gone for that day. But they don't stop smiling, and they just get on with it, and it's such an inspiring way to teach the kids some resilience, and to show them that just how much joy people can get from life despite it not coming from having things.
Now, you can probably tell by the way I'm speaking, I'm one of the few people who has never been to Bali. Can you believe? I'm not a skeptic. I'm not really into the beach. I don't like humidity. And the kicker for me is that I am petrified of getting Bali Belly. I'm a self-diagnosed emetophobic. I think that's how you pronounce it. It means I'm so intensely scared of vomit. Whether it's me getting sick, my child, my partner, I do not want to get Bali Belly on a holiday. And this has prevented me from going to incredible places all around the world, throughout Southeast Asia, India. I really want to go there, but I get it. Just so scared.
So I totally get it. I don't think anyone likes vomit or likes,
No, nobody does. No.
And nobody wants to get it. But I do think, for me, honestly, we've had kids get sick no matter what country we go to. So we ended up in hospital in Japan with a pretty serious issue with our 6-year-old. So, it can happen anywhere.
It can. I'm touching wood right now.
I think the best thing you can do is just be prepared but not live in fear.
Yeah.
So for me, I've never had Bali Belly, despite how many times I've been. Really? My family members have, and some of them have been really sick. So I totally get it, and I don't dismiss it at all. And I am quite cautious, and sometimes I do get anxious while we're over there. I'm not
that's probably more of my fear, that I will be worried the entire time being a germaphobe. I can't really enjoy myself, because something I love doing when I travel is immersing myself in the culture, eating the street food. I'm a real foodie. I love to try what the locals have made, and I just feel like I won't be able to do what I really want to experience there.
I feel like we've never had to hold back on what we're trying or eating, but we do make some, I would say, smarter decisions. So, I think it's something that you reassess constantly throughout the day. So you're constantly thinking about it. You're like, that looks amazing, but I'm probably not going to try that because, it's been sitting obviously in the sun or the heat, and I can see that it's not a super busy place right now. So I'm not going to try that. But Bali is a place that is built around tourists. It really is. So many of the places are very safe, and I feel quite comfortable saying that. Many of the places are very safe, and they're not wanting anybody to get sick. So they are taking precautions with the food that they're prepping, and, the way that they're preparing it. So, perhaps not washing fruit or vegetables in tap water, because they do not want people to get sick, because they, A lot of businesses over there now run off Google reviews and rely on that. So it's in their best interest to take all precautions to make sure that people don't get Bali Belly as well. Having said that, people are getting Bali Belly from all types of ways. So it could be from touching money. So we're always very cautious about having hand sanitizer and having antiseptic wipes to clean our hands after touching or handling money. So a lot of the places still use cash. So, there is a lot of handling of money, and we are always very cautious to use hand sanitizer and wash our hands quite thoroughly after using money, and particularly before we're eating any meals. In busy public areas where we're touching surfaces, we'll always get the kids to wipe their hands and wash them. And we're regularly using bathrooms and soap to clean our hands, because I'm pretty confident that does cleanse them and get rid of the germs. But having said that, with the taps, we are very cautious, and our kids are great now at not using the taps. One hack I did share about was just putting a shower cap over the tap. All it does is it just tricks your brain into thinking, why is there a shower cap on the faucet? And so you can still use it fine. You still lift it up. But every time you go to use it, you think to yourself, oh, there's a shower cap there. So something just different. So you don't go into autopilot, which a lot of people do. It's completely natural to go into autopilot and start brushing your teeth with the tap water.
Yeah, that's what scares me with kids especially.
Yeah.
So you just use like a bottle of water?
Yes. Yep. Most of the hotels will provide plenty of bottled water. If not, you can buy huge big gallons of water, and people will use that water then to wash baby bottles. Some people will use it to bathe the kids. To be honest, we've never had any issues with bathing. We just remind the kids not to get the water in their mouth. One thing I did have to worry about on the last trip was my toddler just swallowing the pool water.
Yeah.
So, there's no proven data on kids getting Bali Belly from swallowing pool water, but, these are just precautions we take because we don't want to risk it either. We don't want our holiday to be ruined by Bali Belly, so we're going to take these steps even though we've never had it.
Is it true that you can go to some hotels that have filtered pool water and tap water?
Oh, I actually haven't heard that.
Someone was just telling me to maybe get me there. They said there's some particular place, it's probably very expensive, I'd imagine, that filter all the water, so even in the shower.
Wow. There might be. That might be a step they're taking. We've never stayed in any of these that are claiming to do that. And again, we've never had any issues. So, I have heard people, going to the big water park in Bali, and there has been quite a lot of sickness come out of there. But again, you never know where somebody is actually picking up Bali Belly from.
Yeah. And it's true. You can get sick anywhere you go. So if you don't, live your life, you'll miss out. I feel I will get there someday. I really do. Because it just everyone loves it so much. And you're right, it is so easy to get there from Sydney and every other part of Australia. I mean, if you live in Perth or Darwin, you could probably go for the weekend, couldn't you?
Absolutely. I mean, I've had family members from Brisbane go for the weekend. Like it's a big trip, but it's definitely doable.
Well, how far is it from Sydney? What's the flight?
From Sydney, it's 6 hours. So, sorry, it might not have been Brisbane. It might have been Cairns. So, Cairns is quite a short flight. I think it's about 3.5 or 4 hours. So that's definitely doable.
I've done Singapore for a long weekend, but that was before child when I could cram a lot in.
Absolutely. You definitely do need to slow down a little bit with kids, and we've learnt that over the years. There have been times we've pushed the kids a little bit too hard, and we definitely have been forced to slow down and not do everything that we want to do.
On that note, traveling around Bali, do you tend to stay in the one location, or is it a sort of a place where you'd stay in different places?
All of our trips that we've done in the past, we've traveled around because I am very guilty of having FOMO and feeling like I need to do absolutely everything on every trip that I do. In the past, a year or 18 months ago, we did a trip and our youngest had just turned 1, and we stayed in 3 different locations in 1 week. So that was pretty full on. We were doing 2 nights in each hotel because packing up and moving with kids is not always the easiest. You do kind of wipe out an entire day of travel. Even though Bali's quite small, the traffic can be quite hectic getting from one area to the other.
Is it just taxis to do things like I've heard it's some long taxi rides on winding roads with no aircon. I've heard some of those stories.
No, that's a horrible story. That's absolutely not true.
Who have I been talking to?
No. So, I mean, there's lots of private cars. So there's Grab, which a lot of people use across Asia now. And we've used that quite a lot. We used it probably more in Thailand than we did Bali. So in Bali, I always use the app, the Bluebird app. There's one taxi company. The main taxi company is called Bluebird, but there's a lot of spin-offs and fake Bluebird cars that will try to pick you up and they won't run their meter. So, they'll try their hand at charging you a higher rate or that. But Bluebird is like quite regulated in Bali and it's very professional. And so we only ever use the Bluebird app. Or we do occasionally use private drivers, because you cannot find Bluebird taxis in Ubud. So we would use private drivers around there. But getting from one area to the other, we would always use a Bluebird taxi. So you book it in the app. It's super easy. In terms of kids and car seats, we've done a real mix of things over the years. But the main thing we do is not use a car seat. And I know that's super controversial, but Bali just feels different. So a lot of the roads you go on, they are not going at a fast speed. And it does not feel super uncomfortable to have a child just secured with a regular seat belt driving across most of the areas of Bali. Obviously, there's going to be parts of Bali where the roads might be a bit windier or they might be going a bit faster speed because there's less traffic. And in those instances, you would kind of just reassess on a case-by-case basis, like the distance you're going, how long you're going to be spending in the car, and all of those things. There's plenty of businesses in Bali now where you can hire a driver that will have a car seat installed for you. And we have done that once or twice, particularly from the airport. But on our most recent trip, and this was something I said I wouldn't do on social media after our last trip to Thailand, but I didn't get a car seat for my daughter and I didn't feel uncomfortable doing that. It did not feel risky on any of the occasions having her secured just by a regular car seat. Yeah. So that's sort of our position because things are just done differently in Asia. They really are. A lot of the time you're kind of rushing in and out of a taxi, on sort of busy streets, and you don't really have the luxury of, detaching a car seat and carrying it with you around. It's just not really what's done.
Yeah. Okay. So Bluebird taxis are the ones that you recommend?
Absolutely. And I always download the app before I go, and we use that app just continuously. And most of the fares, so I will explain, on the most recent trip that we did stay in one spot. So we stayed in Legian at a resort that we really love called the Pullman. And we've stayed there many times, and it's just a really central location. So from there, you can easily get to Kuta, which many people would know about, and you can also get to Seminyak. And it's sort of an area where you have a bit of everything. So you have the beach, you have the sunsets on the beach, but you also have market stalls, plenty of, bars and salons, and plenty of local restaurants to try out. And it's a really good place to meet lots of locals that way as well. So from there, we used the Bluebird app to get basically anywhere within sort of a 15, 20-minute vicinity or drive. And most of those taxi rides would cost about $3 Australian.
Oh, really?
So
is it still as affordable and cheap as Bali used to be? I remember when I was at school, everyone went to Bali because it was the cheapest place to go.
So Bali can be a cheap, affordable holiday, but it can also be quite expensive, and many people do in, a real luxury way. So even though there could be, hotels for under $100 a night, there's also hotels that are, thousands and thousands of dollars a night, the real high-end stuff. So it's a real mix. And that goes back to what I was saying before. Everyone does Bali very differently.
Yeah.
And they make it what they want. So Bali really does have a bit of everything for everyone. And you were mentioning before, Sally, how you're not really a beach person, or you wouldn't go there for the beach. And that is absolutely me too. I'm not a beach person. And to me, that doesn't, there is so much more to Bali that I love than the beach. We are not the type to go and even sit by a pool for many hours at a time. So, we make Bali, work for us, and it fills our cup in our way that we need it to be filled. And other people, if they love the beach or they love sitting by the pool, that's the type of Bali holiday they would have.
Well, you did say you're a big city lady just like me.
I am, absolutely. So Bali kind of is contradictory to that. But I do feel like there's elements. What I love is the hustle and bustle, and you definitely have that in Bali. So Ubud is, it's where my husband and I were married. It's sort of the cultural epicenter of Bali. And it's kind of higher up in the mountains, even though it's not a super mountainous area or anything like that. It's away from the beaches, and it has definitely become a little bit chaotic with sort of some over-tourism over the last couple of years. But it is still a special place that can, if you do it right and avoid some parts of Ubud or sometimes of just sitting in, getting stuck in traffic. Like if you're going to be there, if you're going for a day trip, you will be exhausted and it will be overwhelming because so many other people would do it as a day trip. But if you're staying in that region, you would visit early in the morning when the local market sellers are there and the tourists haven't arrived from Kuta or Seminyak or Canggu, and you would go and explore sort of the local markets, and it's really magical. There's also amazing coffee shops and restaurants around Ubud. There's Michelin star ones.
Yes, I've heard. Yeah.
Ubud is amazing and we love it, and that's the reason why we got married there.
Where do you recommend for families going with little kids? What area would be best?
So if it's your very first time to Bali, I would recommend staying in either Sanur or Legian, but only parts of Legian. So I mentioned before the Pullman, I think that's a really great starter resort, and we've been staying there for years, and it's a great central location. But going back to Sanur, it's an area that is really family friendly. So the beaches along there are very calm. It has a lovely beach path which you can hire bikes and ride along with the kids, and many of the bike places have baby seats. There's heaps of kid friendly restaurants, and I talked before about how we don't necessarily seek those out, but they are nice every now and then if you want to eat a meal and the kids have a playground to play in. So we definitely love that. It's a much calmer area, so less of the younger maybe travelers would visit Sanur.
Yeah, I don't want that anymore.
Yeah.
I'm too old for that.
I agree. And you definitely get a lot of that around Kuta and Legian as well. But there are ways to avoid it. I mean, we're not the type of people to go out at night most nights. So we're not running into those people. So it's not a problem for us. But yeah, coming back to Sanur, it's a really beautiful part of Bali for anyone's first trip.
Sanur. That sounds beautiful. I hear a lot about Kuta. I mean, I have since I was a kid. And then Seminyak and Ubud. I have heard of those places, but not the other ones you've mentioned.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So Legian is a much smaller part, and it's just sort of sits in between Kuta and Seminyak. And Seminyak is quite busy. We actually don't stay around there a lot. There are a lot of people, a lot of villas there, a lot of private villas that people love to stay in, but it is quite congested and the roads get really busy with traffic. We find Legian is really walkable, and the beach path has actually been done up recently, and it's just really nice and easy. And from there you can walk down to Kuta.
I hear a lot of people go to Uluwatu. What's that like?
So people love the cliffside sort of villas in Uluwatu. Uluwatu is an area that has a lot of, amazing culture down there and great food, but it's a real surfy area. So people go there primarily to surf. We're not a surfing family, so that's not really for us. But they do have amazing villas on cliff sides with gorgeous views that everyone loves.
What about a luxurious option?
So one luxury hotel that we really love in Bali is the Intercontinental Hotel in Jimbaran, and it's somewhere we've stayed a couple of times. It's not our primary choice with our 3 little rugrats, just because it is a little bit more expensive, but my extended family absolutely love it and stay there regularly. So it's an area that is a little bit quieter than some of the other ones that I've mentioned, and it is where most of or quite a few of the larger luxury resorts on big blocks of land are. So the Four Seasons is nearby, and the Intercontinental is a place where you would just sort of stay, and that's not really the way we kind of holiday. We like to get out and about and walk the streets. So it is somewhere you would sort of go to relax and enjoy what the hotel or resort has to offer. Yeah.
Okay. So that's a resort holiday.
Yes, absolutely.
Let's talk about some of the must-do experiences with kids.
So when we visit with all of our kids, so we love to sort of do some animal encounters. And that's a tricky one, and it can sometimes be controversial. So we always do our research on what's ethical. We did find a really lovely small place called Bali Mini Hidden Zoo, and it's one that not many people have heard of. And it's sort of smaller insects and creepy crawlies and snakes and hedgehog type animals. And it's a really hands-on type experience. So it's really lovely. It's tucked in sort of some rice paddies. And it, like I mentioned, it is quite a small place, or it's called a zoo, but it is on the much smaller scale. So we really enjoyed that. Having said that, my kids who, adore anything creepy crawly here were not super keen to do the hands-on experiences like I thought they would. So I ended up being the one holding multiple snakes around my neck and holding a tarantula. That was interesting for me, but it was a really lovely experience. And we did that sort of on our way driving from Sanua up to Ubud. So it's one of those places you could stop at for a couple of hours, have some lunch there overlooking the rice paddies. And it was really lovely. I mentioned earlier that we don't always do sort of kid-focused attractions, but there are plenty in Bali. So there's a place called Trans Mall, which would be perfect for a wet weather option. It's in Denpasar, which is the capital city of Bali. And, a lot of families really love it. It's kind of like a little mini theme park sort of within a shopping mall, and it has rides and attractions that
you got to have a wet
love.
weather option in your back pocket, especially for places like Bali.
Especially in Bali. The other amazing thing about Bali is so many of the hotels have kids clubs and just amazing pools and activities at the resort that you can enjoy. And sort of our most recent trip, so I only came back from Bali 2 weeks ago, and it was amazing. And that was a trip that I just took with my youngest, Connie. She's 2 years old. And we met my dad over there. And it was really special. So I got to really focus just one-on-one with my youngest. And she loved the kids' club activities. So she wasn't old enough to stay there by herself, but we enjoyed sort of, it was an hour here or there where she got to enjoy some of the activities that they had planned, like nail painting, face painting, feeding the little animals like bunny rabbits out in their garden, dressing up in sort of Balinese attire and learning Balinese dancing and how to create her own little offering. So she absolutely adored that. And so some of the days can just be filled with those types of activities that the kids would just really love. So many of the resorts and hotels, even some of the smaller ones really have a strong kid focus and will make sure that there's plenty going on for kids. In terms of getting out, there's plenty of temples that you can drive to in Bali. So there's one that we love called Tanah Lot, and it's a little bit of a drive away, and it's sort of up the west coast, so past Canggu. But if you head up early in the morning, you kind of avoid all the traffic. And experiencing some of these temples with the kids is really special and unique for us. One, mainly because my grandfather was born in Indonesia, so it gives me an opportunity to talk to sort of the kids about some of our Indonesian background and our heritage and sort of how he was raised and some of the cultural elements of that. Even though Bali is very different to Java, in Indonesia, it still is sort of a talking point with the kids about some of our cultural heritage. So we love experiencing the temples, and there's always market stalls around the temples. Bali also has sort of a plethora of markets, and, they range in from local markets to, fabric markets or art markets or craft markets and, tourist-focused markets where you would buy sort of maybe knockoff clothes or little trinkets that the kids love. And our kids love that. They love, going in for a bit of a negotiation with the locals in a very polite and kind way. And, and it's sort of a completely unique cultural experience that they just don't have in Australia.
No, you won't get that here, that's for sure.
Yes.
What about family-friendly restaurants that you love?
So in Sanua, there's one that we always go back to called Shotgun Social. And I mean, that's popular. Many people planning a trip over there would have heard of it.
I love that name, Shotgun Social.
It's great. It has like these amazing wood-fired pizzas and great cocktails, but it has this great playground for the kids. It's just...
We love a playground.
We absolutely do. It's a big timber fort with slides and swings, and it's sort of set amongst the trees and there's fairy lights. So it's great, whether you're going during the daytime for lunch or at nighttime with the fairy lights on. It's just a great place for the parents to actually just enjoy a meal while the kids play. So we really love that. There are plenty of kid-friendly restaurants all across Bali in Uluwatu and Canggu. They're popping up constantly because they're places that, Australian families are flocking to at the moment. But even those that aren't specifically kid-friendly in the sense that they, might not have a playground, the staff make it kid-friendly. And that's something that's quite unique about Bali and different places that we travel to. especially Japan, is some restaurant experiences can be tough with kids in Japan. But in Bali, everyone makes it feel easy. The kids feel like they're wanted at places. And that's a really nice, special feeling that we sometimes miss when we're in other countries.
Yes, even in our own country.
Absolutely. My kids feel like they're a burden, if we go to the local pub sometimes. So
Yes.
that can be really something that is really nice for them to experience, whether they're noticing it subconsciously or not,
Yeah.
That, a place is welcoming of children is something we really, really love.
Now it's time for a new segment called Kids Corner. It's where the mini travellers get to ask the questions. Some big, some small, and some a little bit quirky.
Hi, Bianca. How long does it take to get your hair braided in Bali?
You know what? We've never done hair braiding in Bali, but hair braiding is offered almost anywhere. You could sit at the beach and you could be playing in the sand with buckets and spades as a little kid, and they will happily sit down on the sand and braid your hair for you right there. And so, it might take an hour. I'm not too sure. It depends on how long your hair is.
Oh, my daughter's hair is long and thick like mine.
Yeah. There's lots of different styles of braids. So when we were over there recently, I saw lots of girls getting what I would describe as the K-pop recent braids, the recent...
like an inside-out braid or French braid, is that what they're called?
No, so it's kind of two French braids, but the K-pop Demon Hunters braid.
Oh, yes. So Rumi or what's her name?
The Rumi braid. That's a great one, yeah. So it's sort of the two French braids and it's got sort of a piece of coloured hair going through it. So that would obviously take a lot less time than, lots of the mini braids. And you know what? Doing those things is such a great way to support the locals. So even though we haven't done it yet, because I only have a 2-year-old little girl and my boys weren't really interested in that. So, we definitely probably would try it at some point.
What's something that you can do in Bali that you can't do in Australia?
That's the tricky one. Everyone has their different interests, but I know a lot of people like buying fireworks, and that is absolutely not us, but a lot of people buy fireworks and they set them off on the beach, and it can be quite noisy for those who don't enjoy fireworks, but I know other people like it because it's something that's, they can't do in Australia. So that's maybe for the older kids, maybe, or the teenagers. Yes.
I think so.
Yes.
Let's leave that to the teens. What about, I was thinking like a monkey experience.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's definitely feeding, well, not necessarily feeding, but getting up close and personal with monkeys.
Yeah, just seeing them in the wild.
We've done a few times and it can end in disaster. So I am a little bit cautious, recommending it to some people. So some of the monkeys at some of the, popular tourist destinations. So, one of the temples down in Uluwatu is known for having monkeys that steal anything and everything from people. And then to
Cheeky
get that
monkeys.
back, yes, to get that back, there's quite a few locals around that you could pay some money to and they'll help you get it back off the monkeys.
So these monkeys are not just cheeky, they're naughty. It's a bit of a scam, huh?
So it is a bit of a business model. But then Ubud Monkey Forest is a place that we've been to quite a few times.
Mm-hmm.
And we do like it and it's beautiful. There's beautiful architecture around there. So these stones carved into beautiful ornate designs and that. But the monkeys there can also be a little bit aggressive. So if you have a little one who's a little bit jumpy with animal encounters, I would definitely avoid it.
Okay.
But if somebody...
That's me. I'm like that.
Yes.
But I put myself out there though. I give it a go.
Yes. I love it as an experience. To have a monkey, you can have a monkey. You can buy some bananas and they can come sit on your head and you can have a photo and everything like that. And these monkeys, are wild and untamed, but they are used to tourists. So I will say that. So they are quite comfortable going up to tourists and, trying to get things off of you and, scratching or biting. So that's something that we're a little bit cautious of. But having said that, you can also just see them sort of walking around parts of Ubud, especially near the monkey forest. So if you're on the street, there might be a monkey sort of just sitting in the middle of the footpath, which is a lovely experience just to see. And it's a real novelty. It's not something we see here, that's for sure.
Well, Bianca, thank you so much for sharing all your Bali goodness. I am really thinking I should probably book a ticket to Bali. What do you reckon?
Absolutely. I think it's a place that most people will fall in love with if you know how to do it right.
So, well, I think I know now, thanks to you. But before you go, I have my fast 5 questions. Are you ready for them?
Yes, absolutely.
All right, here we go. Do you prefer window or aisle seat?
If it's just me, definitely the aisle. I hate being claustrophobic and being stuck in there, not being able to get up and use the toilet during a flight. So yes, absolutely aisle every time. But luckily, when we travel as a family, we take up the whole row. So I feel like we get a bit of everything.
Complete this sentence. When traveling, I never leave home without my...
This is going to be embarrassing now, but knit comb. Oh my gosh. On our last trip to Thailand, we were getting notifications that the kids' school had a knit outbreak, a head lice outbreak.
Oh no.
And so now this is absolutely mortifying, but it's such a small little tool just to throw in the toiletry bag, and I'm going to take it everywhere.
That is good advice.
Because we were literally hunting all over Thailand for how to do sort of a head lice treatment for the kids, even though we weren't 100% sure they were there. But the outbreak messages were coming through really fast and strong as soon as we arrived in Thailand. And I was like, this is not going to ruin our holiday.
No, the timing, gosh. Okay, first thing you do when you arrive at your destination.
It would definitely be a supermarket trip. So it's a great way for us to, one, get our bearings by walking somewhere, but also just to stock up on some of the essentials that we love having sort of in our hotel room or Airbnb, wherever we're staying. So some of those things might be nappies. Our youngest has just toilet trained recently. So, up until recently, we would take enough nappies for the flight and just a little bit beyond the flight, but we would buy nappies wherever we arrived in the destination. And this is something that's super easy to find. And we're not picky about the type of nappy or the brand or anything, so we're happy to buy local brands, and it just makes the luggage so much easier to travel with. And then some other things we stock up on are like some fruits and snacks and milk poppers. We always love to have milk poppers, so the little UHT milks. It just helps the kids settle, of a night time, or if we're going on a long taxi drive, we always have a sort of a UHT milk popper handy for them, especially our youngest. So yeah, that's something we always just do when we arrive. That's like our day one activities, is visiting a supermarket.
If budget wasn't a factor, what's your dream destination?
100% an African safari. I don't know which country in particular, but ever since I was a little girl, I've desperately wanted to go to Africa. One of the top destinations, if money wasn't a factor, would be seeing mountain gorillas. And so that's something I would desperately love to do. I do know there's an age limit on kids. So in my heart, I know that even if we had the money, that it's not something we would do just yet until, they're a little bit older or possibly teenagers. But it's definitely up there as, a destination I would love to visit with the kids.
And finally, what snacks do you pack in your suitcase?
Lots of them. Actually, sorry, I will correct that. It's mainly just the snacks for the plane. We no longer take snacks for the destination that we're visiting. So we used to take snacks worrying that our kids wouldn't find something they'd eat and they'd need something in the hotel room. But we definitely don't do that anymore. No matter where we're going, there are like so many snacks that the kids will try and taste and enjoy. So we're not even worried in the slightest about that. But having said that, the plane ride, we are a budget airline type traveler. So
Oh, you've got to take your own.
Absolutely. Meals on the plane are just not happening for us. I mean, we're not getting provided with meals. There's some to buy, but they're just not what the kids are going to want to eat. And so we take a lot of snacks on the plane. And I'm talking anything that is sort of shelf stable. And we will also then take sandwiches and fruit. So the kids get a massive bag each, and they know that's part of their flying routine. They get a massive bag of snacks. They can eat them whenever they want during the flight. One thing we do have to remember is just eating all the fruit before we arrive at the destination or disposing of it on the plane, obviously, because we have gotten close to getting caught out with some apples and bananas in the park. So
yeah, don't get caught coming home.
No, absolutely not.
Australia will get you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Bianca. And I know you have promised you're going to come back and share all of your, more of your traveling tips, of course, especially your carry-on only packing rule. I cannot wait for that one.
I can't wait to come back. And thank you so much, Sally, for having me. It's been lovely chatting to you.
You're welcome. Bye-bye. I love how Bianca is living her life, still working hard as a lawyer, traveling the world with her 3 kids and keeping up this digital content creation. And I feel like we really only just scratched the surface. I mean, I'm ready to go to Bali now. I'm feeling a little bit more comfortable knowing all this advice about Bali, but there's so much more to know. And lucky for us, she is coming back. Next time, we will dive into her absolute best travel tips, including how she manages to pack carry-on only for a family of 5. I mean, what? Sep, carry on only. I genuinely need to know how that's even possible. I don't even think I could do it. I really don't. Make sure you're following Snacks and Suitcases so you don't miss when this one drops. And I really hope you did enjoy this episode. Please leave a review. Let me know what you think. If your kids have a question, if you have a question, you can email me at snacksandsuitcasespodcast@gmail.com or on my Instagram page at Snacks and Suitcases Podcast. But until next time, happy travels.
And don't forget the snacks.